All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth video for Chapter 1, Section 3 of your McGraw-Hill Algebra 2 textbook entitled Solving Linear Equations. Once again, you should know everything we're talking about in these videos already from Algebra 1. Now, it may be a bit more formal than your Algebra 1 teacher, as in you may not have actually seen these properties written out, but you have definitely solved linear equations before. This is the fourth video for this particular set of notes, and it will finally get into actually solving some linear equations. So, before we do that, we had our first four properties of equality: reflexive, symmetric, transitive, and substitution. We have a few more properties that we need to bring up before we continue in to solving. Those are the addition property, the subtraction property, the multiplication property, and the division property. So the addition property says that if A is equal to B, then A plus C equals B plus C. Now what is that saying in words? That is saying we can add anything we want to both, and that's the key word there, sides of any equation. So whatever we have, A equals B, we can add something else, C, to both sides. That's perfectly legal. Now, based on that, we should be able to guess how the rest of these properties are going to play out. The subtraction property starts off the same way if A equals B, but instead of adding, we state that we are allowed to subtract C from either side. In other words, we are also able to subtract anything we want from both sides of an equation. Okay? Same thing applies to multiplication. If A equals B, then A times C equals B times C. We can multiply both sides of any equation. And finally, division. Now, division does have a bit of a side note on it, okay? If A is equal to B, then A divided by C is equal to B divided by C, but C is not allowed to be 0. Again, that's because we can't divide by 0. So what we would say in words is we can divide both sides of any equation by any value but 0. Because we're not allowed to divide by 0. Okay, so this next slide will be the last slide of this video. It's going to consist of us looking at those properties and using them to solve some simple equations. Now, I'm 100% certain that everyone in my Algebra 2 class is fully capable of solving these equations. I am 100% certain of this because you have passed Ms. Duran's Algebra 1 class, and you would not have done that if you couldn't do this. So we're going to go through these. It'll be relatively quick, just to remind us how to use these properties. So in A, we have x plus 5 equals negative 12. In order to solve that for x, we need to get rid of the plus 5. Fortunately, the subtraction property of equality says that I can subtract anything I want from both sides of the equation. So I subtract 5 from each side, which cancels out the positive 5, and leaves me with x equals negative 17. In letter B, I have x minus 6 equals negative 29. Again, I need to get rid of that minus 6. I can do that using the addition property of equality, which says I can add whatever I want to both sides of the equation. So I add 6 to each side, which cancels the negative 6, and leaves me with x equals negative 23. In letter C, I have 1/2 times x equals 18. Now, fractions are a bit of a unique creature, but essentially, if I want to get rid of the 1/2, I can multiply both sides of that equation by 2 using the multiplication property of equality, and I would get that x equals 36. In letter D, I have 2/3 x equals 10. To get rid of the 2/3, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3, or 3/2. That will give me x equals 30 divided by 2, or 15. Okay, so now we get down to letter E. Letter E is a two-step equation. To get rid of the -3, we're going to add 3 to each side of the equation, which will give us 3x equals 117. And then we are going to divide by 3, which gives us x is 19. I'm sorry, not 19. X is 39. And then finally in letter F, we have two options. We can distribute, or we can clear the fraction. And we've basically been taught very, very hard how to clear the fraction. So what we do is we multiply both sides of the equation by the denominator 4, the common denominator. Now there's only one fraction, so that would be the denominator here. When we do that, those 4's will cancel each other out and leave us with 3 times the quantity x plus 3 equals 36. Now, at that point, we would expect you to distribute the way that we've taught you, which would be 3x plus 9 equals 36. Then we would want you to subtract 9 from each side to give you 3x equals 27. And then we would want you to divide by 3 to give you x equals 9. The next video will show additional examples for clearing fractions, as well as some more advanced equations. And then we'll do some videos where we do some standardized test style questions, and then one where we do solving real world problems. So that does it for this video. See you on the next one.